How's it going? This is the Soapbox Podcast. I'm Ben.
I'm Matt.
And today we'll be talking about some of our favorite things. For me personally, this is one of my favorite movies that I've ever encountered. Matt thinks it's a little bit silly.
I've only seen a little bit of it.
He's not seen it yet, so we're going to try and convert him.
Yeah. It's called The Book of Life, yeah?
The Book of Life.
Now, there is a few other films sort of similar to it, correct?
You are correct, yeah. Coco is what you're thinking about.
Yeah, Coco is the one that I have actually seen. And you said it's a rip-off.
Yeah.
But isn't it taken from Spanish folklore? I want to say.
Mexican. So Dias de la Muerte.
Yeah.
So the Day of the Dead. I've probably butchered the pronunciation of that.
No, I think that is how it's pronounced.
But yeah, essentially it's around the kind of Mexican tradition.
The story itself, what's told, is a folktale, right? Because they've sort of stretched out. Because
the folktale that's in the Book of Life is a lot more similar to the folktale than what is in Coco.
Coco, yeah.
Yeah. So Coco looks at the myth, looks at the kind of like I don't know. I guess they wouldn't classify it as a myth really, because it is a belief for a lot of people in a way a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, with Coco, it kind of analyzes the tradition and the belief that people have, which is around this Day of the Dead, and how the spirits from the other world will cross over and meet with their family on the Day of the Dead.
Yeah.
And so families will lay out things for their ancestors and try and, persuade them to kind of come and invite them back, because it's very much about honouring and respecting those who went before.
One thing, did you know that the Day of the Dead actually used to occur earlier on in the year, but then it was moved later on to coincide with Halloween?
Really?
Yeah. And Halloween is Samhain, I think it is. It's called, which is old Celtic tradition.
That's crazy.
Which is crazy. But yeah, it was moved. It was moved to be a closer date so it could be celebrated at the same time.
Huh.
Same with a lot of Christmas stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I was just about to say the same thing kind of with Christmas.
Yeah.
Christmas is not the actual date of Christ's birth,
but
which is what it's supposed to be celebrated as, but it's a date with Christians took over and said, "Oh, we'll make this a celebration of his birth."
But there's Yuletide, and then the Netherlands has Sinterklaas, which is where Santa Claus comes from.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because
it's pretty wild.
Everybody just moves their own things about. What's going on?
Yeah, definitely.
Lucky the pagans don't do that, so we've got different equinoxes. Because we actually those are to do with the stars.
Yeah, they're set. But you can't do anything with them.
Day of the Dead.
Yeah.
They shouldn't really move the things around, because I know Samhain, because it's the autumn equinox,
right?
And that's why it occurs. It's where there's the weakest barrier between the world of the living and the world of the dead. That's
right.
That's in Celtic anyway. Now I believe it's something similar in the Mexican
tradition.
I don't want to say mythology. Yeah.
Tradition.
Tradition.
Yeah. We'll stick with that. Yeah, so I mean, within the Book of Life and also within Coco, they both kind of like have this movie set up with stories that are somewhat similar but plenty different. Book of Life actually came out before Coco did, which is a Disney Pixar movie for Coco, and then Book of Life is I'm not sure what studio it comes from, but I adore it as a movie. I think it's really, really good. Some of the differences between the two, obviously with the Book of Life, the plot revolves around a young man and his best friend and his crush, essentially.
Yeah.
And then it kind of follows him as he's trying to create his own life and do good things. But essentially what it follows is these two gods, the god of the dead and the god of the living, who place a wager on these two young men and the crush.
Right,
because the crush is a crush that both of them have, and so the god of the living and the god of the dead place their bets and say, I bet he's going to end up with him. No, I think he will.
But music's a key feature in it, right? Because they're both
is central, yeah. Because it's very folk oriented. It's very traditional. It's a lot of acoustic and kind of like, I mean,
mariachi music.
Yeah, very much. And in both movies, the main star, the person that you're following throughout, is a guitar player and is very passionate about their guitar playing and wants to be able to bring that to a wider audience, whether that be, whatever it is. But not to give so much away, but I mean, with the Book of Life, it's a movie that just really I adore. I found it one night when I was living in a flat with two other guys, not too far from here actually. It was when I moved over to England for the second time, and me and these guys were living together. I was sleeping down on the couch one night because it was a bit comfy, and my bed was really small, and I didn't really want to sleep up there, so I was just checking out Netflix and going through the channels, and I found this movie, and I decided to switch it on, and it blew my mind. I literally adored it, and I watched it that night, and I was like, this is incredible. When my roommates came down the next morning, I was like, guys, sit down right now, we're watching this. We watched it again for the second time for me that morning all together, and they were like, this is incredible. We had some friends come over that evening, and we were like, guys, we found the greatest movie of all time. And literally within the space of 24 hours, I watched it 3 times, they watched it twice, and we just had to show everybody because it was so cool. And for a while it went off on Netflix, but it's now back on Netflix. So anyone that wants to check it out, highly recommend it. I think it is one of the greatest movies of all time.
And if you need a reason to watch it, it's by Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah.
Who did Pan's Labyrinth and Shape of Water. I watched Shape of Water recently, and I quite liked it. It was a good film.
Yeah.
Bit weird, because she has sex with a fish. But, you know.
Yeah. He does a lot of weird movies.
Yeah, but he tried... I think what he does... Pan's Labyrinth... And
I love Pan's Labyrinth.
It's modern fairy tales. That's what he sort of tries to tell in his stories. He also did Hellboy, which was
good.
Yeah. And Ron Perlman Hellboy.
Yeah, I really enjoy a lot of the stuff that comes out from Guillermo del Toro, and in terms of this, like, the animation style is very beautiful. It's something that is just very, very unique. If you look at the differences between Coco and Guillermo del Toro's, Book of Life, it's very, very unique. It's set as if they're puppets. So
essentially, they're marionettes, aren't they?
Yeah. So it's kind of like the traditions, because I believe that this story is told and retold as kind of a tradition, kind of like our Punch and Judy would be told at different holiday events where they have like the little puppets. I think on the Day of the Dead they have like these little puppets, and they reenact these stories, recount them to children. And so within the film, the story is basically being recounted to everyone through puppets. And even though these puppets are the animated to life characters, you can still see the joints on their arms. You can see you can see their wooden figurines, and it really adds to the character of the movie.
Yeah. Oh, that's quite cool, because almost Tim Burton-esque then, eh?
A little bit, yeah. It's definitely unique.
I just realised that Guillermo del Toro did Blade, which we've mentioned in the past, but he also did the film Crimson Peak, which has got Tom Hiddleston in, and that's a really good film as well. I recommend watching that. Horror films, mind you. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark has just come out, and he did that as well.
Yeah, definitely.
So this Book of Life, you definitely recommend it, eh?
Oh, hugely. Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, having just looked at it now, director Jorge Gutierrez.
Right. But then,
so where are you finding Guillermo del Toro?
If you just go on Guillermo del Toro's movies, it comes up saying that he's got relations to this. So I don't know if it's...
Yeah, he comes up here as well. Why?
So maybe it's just that he had... maybe he was a producer in the film or something like that. Yeah, produced by Guillermo del Toro.
Right, okay, so back
Aaron Berger, Brad Booker, Guillermo del Toro, and Karina Schulze. I don't know how that's pronounced. Schulze.
One of them German names.
So he didn't direct it, sorry. Produced it.
But produced it.
I was going to say, well, he's done a lot of directing, though.
Yeah, he certainly put his weight behind the movie, at least. And that, yeah, I think it's cool.
Sorry, Guillermo del Toro is a large man, so I thought it was funny.
You're just cracking up. That's cool. And I think as well, one of the things that I really love about it, I mentioned it in a previous podcast, but the soundtrack is something that really hit me in a big way, because I really love it. It's kind of like, it's a lot of music which is, quite popular today. There's Mumford & Sons' I'll Wait For You. There's Elvis, which, Can't Help Falling in Love With You, and a couple of other songs which are present throughout the movie, but they've been morphed a little bit to fit in with the mariachi style.
It's got
it's got the acoustic music. It's got that Mexican twang to it, and I love it. I think it just.
You ever been to Mexico, Ben?
No, but I want to go.
Really go.
I think I should go. I think you're right. But I think it's good. It's really, really good. And then obviously it's just funny throughout the entire thing. It's definitely a feel-good movie. It's something that people will certainly enjoy. What about you? Do you have any favorite movies? Is there anything that just stands out head and shoulders above the rest for you?
What films, as in like any films or like kids films? That's really hard.
For me, Book of Life is one of my top films. Okay,
yeah.
I would say another is V for Vendetta.
Yeah,
which I adore. It's very, very different to Book of Life. And then another that I really, really enjoy, just because of the message that's kind of in it, is Meet the Robinsons. And again, that's a kind of kids movie, but it's just something that I watched when I was younger. It had an incredible message in it, and it just really resonated with me.
See, for me, oh God, I don't know.
And then obviously I'm a big Marvel fanboy, so pretty much everything by them is incredible. But in terms of just kind of like, solo indie movies or...
I'd have to say, right, I really like La La Land, which is strange for me because I'm not the biggest fan of musicals. Yeah.
Wow. But okay, explain that to me. I've seen it. Yeah. I can't say it's one of my faves.
Really?
No.
Oh, I've really enjoyed it. I was very drunk and it was 4 o'clock in the morning and I was sat there eating... so I was very drunk, 4 in the morning, having a kebab. Nice. I was at a mate's house and we were looking through films and we decided, we'll put that on. La La Land. It's got Emma Stone in it. Let's have a look.
Yeah.
It's meant to be really good. It was like rated 5-star. And
yeah.
This was, it wasn't like Netflix or anything. It was, they have like a TV box and it was what was downloaded. So we only had a limited pick. So we put it on and I don't know. Maybe it was the drunkenness, but even thinking back.
Have you watched it since?
No.
Right.
But I really enjoyed the film. Honestly, I after it finished, I was like, man, what a film. And I was really annoyed by the ending. But then the next morning, I was like having a shower and I was thinking about the film, man. And then I just thought about the ending. I was like, no, I sort of accepted what it was. And I was like, no, that's right. That is how it should be.
See, that's what I was going to say. Because the issue that I have with La La Land isn't anything that happens throughout. I like Ryan Gosling. I like Emma Stone. I like the music. I like musicals in general. I think they're really, really good. And so none of that didn't hit home with me. But what I didn't like was the ending.
But that's life. You don't always get the girl. that's what it. That's the whole thing about it. I was like,
I guess it didn't land with me because I'm living my fairy tale.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I got the girl, got the baby.
Yeah, you've got everything.
I do.
Yeah, neatly in a package. Yeah. But in the life of a bachelor, Ben, things are different.
But, I see. Yeah. So it's a bachelor movie.
No, it's not. No.
Okay.
It's a bachelor's dream. That's what it should be renamed. But I really liked it, and which is a weird one for me. It's sort of like, that's my wild card film, I'd say.
Okay.
We mentioned Studio Ghibli in a previous one. Princess Mononoke really stood out to me when I was little.
Okay.
You said the message behind it. Princess Mononoke's message is all about industrialization, and I think very much of the...
What about industrialization?
So
did you like the message about industrialization?
I watched the film and I didn't get it the first time.
Okay.
And then I watched it being older, and I watched it and I went, oh, this is like pretty much a talk about climate change and anti-industrialization, because it's a fight between the nature and mankind, and mankind is killing off nature, but in doing so, it's killing the spirits of the forest and things like that. The gods of the forest are dying because man is digging up the earth. And I think at the moment, that's very much, especially at the time we're recording, the Amazon is on fire. And it's like those sort of things. Since I sort of realised that when I was, young adolescent, as you know, I'm quite ecocentric in a way. I very much like that.
Instead of using Google, you use a thing called Ecosia, And you've been recommending that to me because it's something that plants trees every how many searches?
47 on average, I think.
47
searches equals a tree being planted. Definitely recommend. I'm going to link that in the description. Actually,
so rather than just looking through Google or any of the other sort of search engines, you can just type in Ecosia and then search through that.
A bit of a hippie, but
you are a little bit.
Yeah, but
I don't know. Hair for it.
Yeah. Oh, not for long. But yeah, it's that sort of thing of. That sort of like not hit home, but inspired me sort of.
Yes, yeah,
and
inspirational.
That's like a childhood film that I really enjoyed. But I'm trying to think like if there's any films like I don't know films that I watch over and over because I don't tend to do that. I don't re-watch films too much. Which really annoys my friends.
Neither do I. And you know what? That is what was so special about Book of Life for me. Like, it wasn't something that I sat down, I watched, and then I was like, that was great, I'll recommend it, but I'm not going to sit back down and watch it. Yeah. I literally, for the first time in my entire life, was so in love with the movie that I had to get people to watch it and sat down and watched it 3 more times.
Yeah.
Together. And that's not like those 3 times I watched over the course of that day weren't the only times that I've watched it. You know, I watched it since then.
Really?
I'm definitely going to go back and have a rewatch again because I think it's got to be one of the best movies ever. But yeah, I like what you're saying. There's a lot of inspirational movies, a lot of messages that are within movies that, you know, inspire us to do better or be better or think differently even. And for me, I mentioned Meet the Robinsons. The main message of that movie that I felt and that came across was keep moving forward. Throughout the movie, it's about this kid inventor who is down in life. He's struggling. He wants to be adopted because he's left in a home and he has no one who kind of cares for him, and so he just wants his life to improve. And he thinks if I can do something, if I can be somewhere, if I can meet the right person, my life will get better and things will change. But everything keeps on seeming to go wrong.
Yeah.
And then the whole theme of the movie is keep moving forward throughout any of the knockbacks, throughout any of the difficulties. Just keep on going and going and going, and then it's just going to work out and everything's going to be better. And the movie ties up in a really nice way. There's a lot of really good themes in it. I think it's definitely another one to watch. And then on a different note entirely for me is V for Vendetta. Have you seen V for Vendetta?
Yeah, years ago now, but yeah, I've seen it.
Really impressive movie. Completely different, but it's one of those that kind of like Princess Mononoke just kind of inspires you in terms of it's about kind of like government rebellion.
Yeah. Anarchy.
It's living in this kind of alternate reality which was supposed to be the present, essentially. So if the war had gone a different way, World War II, if, you know, there were still dictators in charge, if everything had been kind of more harshly regulated and the government cracked down on people and curfews were still enforced and people were out and abusing people with power, and it shows kind of the story of fighting against and rising against that power. And that was a movie that really was inspirational for me because it was just like, well, yeah, sometimes there are these people who are just placed in positions and supposedly they have so much say over your life and what you can do with it. You know, they can enforce all of these things which are just completely out there and crazy.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I always agree with it.
So if you agree with me, vote green. If you agree with Ben, burn down the ballot station, I guess, and just, you know...
I mean, one of us is getting things done.
Yeah.
One of us is getting things done. The other one is scratching an X on a piece of card.
Yeah. You're burning a property of the government down.
I mean, 5th of November is not too far away.
Oh, God.
To end on a better note...
Well, yeah, I was going to say, sort of going back to the question a bit, my instinctual answer usually to that question, what is your favourite film? I would always have to go with Fellowship of the Ring, Lord of the Rings.
Ooh.
Because I really like Lord of the Rings. Like, the films, I love them.
Yeah.
And that is another, I've just realised, it's a childhood. I've watched it over and over and over.
Yeah.
I watch it every year at Christmas. I watch all 3. Usually over the course of the Christmas weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just something that I've always done. I don't know why. I guess it was because the first time I watched it was around that time. But then I've also watched it in the summer. And, like, it's just, yeah, I enjoy the film. Great soundtrack. So much is, but then I feel like it's a bit of an overrated answer, I suppose. I mean, I really enjoy it, the trilogy in general. But I don't know, I'm trying to think if there's a film that really I walked out of, like, the cinema going, like, yeah, that's changed me.
Yeah.
I really like Pulp Fiction. There's a lot of times where I've come out of the cinema and I've just felt nothing. I've been like, okay. Yeah. But say I went to see, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and I walked out the cinema feeling very satisfied. I usually get that with Marvel films.
Yeah.
Or the cliffhanger gets me going, oh, what next,
Yeah.
And yeah, I suppose there are a lot of films. Pulp Fiction, I finished it and I was like, I was so glad that I'd watched it. I was like, I can't believe I've not watched it up until this point. That was my reaction. I was like, how have I not seen this film before?
Yeah.
And then I watched it. I was like, yeah. So Pulp Fiction is in, but now I'm just racking up a list. It's hard. I can't pick a certain film, obviously.
So what we found out in this episode is you're very indecisive, and I love kids' movies.
Yeah. Yeah. Which, how is Princess Mononoke a PG? That's what I find crazy. A guy gets decapitated and another guy gets his arm cut off. But then Spirited Away's...
That's all animated.
Yeah, I know, but Spirited Away's not as bad, but animated decapitation... You'd think that the thingy would get that, wouldn't you? The IMDb or the... What is it?
BBFC?
Yeah, the Peggy rating guys.
Yeah, BBFC.
Yeah. You
not
think
IMDb. They don't have control over the world. The Internet Movie Database.
I'll
slapping down PG on movies, just being like,
nope,
that one's not okay.
No, yeah. Whatever you called it, that, I thought they would have marked that down, because there's some films that don't deserve to be... I've watched some films that are like 12s, 15s, and I'm like, nah, these should be PGs. They're just... Nah.
Yeah, it's true.
They need to get the shit together. Oh, Peggy 7.
Oh,
I said,
we were so
you
close.
can have one swear word, I think.
Oh, I see.
In a kids' film.
Wow.
I think that's how it works.
I think so.
But there's only a few things you can say. You can say. You can't say. You
can't
say.
You're such.
You can't say.
Idiot.
Can't say that one.
So maybe we'll just have like a little explicit warning come up on the video just before that.
I'll bleep them out. It's okay.
Oh, great. Cheers, mate.
So it'd be funny because the joke will be then that I'll say you can't say beep, you can't say beep, you can't say beep, and now people.
But you'll just leave in the first one so that it's still Peggy 7.
Maybe.
I can have one beep beep beep. Nice. You're like a real life Deadpool. But yeah, thank you for listening, and this has been the Soapbox. We've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's
I
pretty
hope
fun.
you have too.
Yeah. So you're gonna shake my hand.
Till next time.
Alright, see ya.